Hey guys, Southpaw here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering a 1903 A3 Springfield. This one specifically designed by Remington. We're going to be desporterizing it. I'm going to be taking you through that process of putting back original furniture and hardware onto the rifle. We're going to go over a little bit of a history of the firearm as well as we go through the build and some little fun facts about it. So as we can see here, we have a US Remington model 03A3 with the correct 03A3 sights. We still have the flag safety as well as the magazine cutoff over here. So starting off on our rebuild, we're going to have to replace the stock. I've got a stock here that was bought from a good friend of mine that I was able to get it. Everything else has been sourced online, and the majority of the parts did come from Numeric Gun Parts. If you haven't checked them out, not a sponsor, not affiliate, anything, but they have wonderful selection of parts for new and old firearms. So the 1903 Springfield, as it was commonly referred to, was designed as a target rifle originally and was later on adopted by the U.S. military. Based off of its Mauser action, the military found it was much more efficient and quicker than the old Craig Jorgensen's that we were using. And in so that it was the main issued rifle in World War I, saw a lot of action in World War I, as well as some continued action into World War II. The 1903 itself was originally chambered in a 30-03 and was later adopted to a 30-06 that we see today. So to begin with our disassembly of our 1903 A3, it is actually quite simple. All you have to do is take out these two screws here. To remove the trigger guard and this lower assembly here. Kind of pops out like that. You've got your magazine follower and spring right there. And then the whole stock just lifts right off of the rifle, and we have our disassembled 1903. For the next step, we're actually going to want to grab a punch press set. We have to take off the front sight right up here. There we go. So we've got a little pin, and now that we've got that off, should be able to Alright guys, once you get your front sight off, that's going to allow you to put the rest of the rifle together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stock, put this in here like this, but before I fully throw that down in there, I'm going to take this ring here, and that's going to go over the barrel, slide it all the way down to where it sits right down here. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to hold the handguard in place. So once we have our ring on here, that's going to allow us to put our handguard on and start assembling the rest of the rifle. Next up, we're going to install our lower swivel ring. That's going to consist of this keeper right here. This is going to go in this hole and thread and sit in that slot right there. And then we've got our actual ring right here. I'm going to thread that down. It's going to be a little tight going over the handguard. Once we get it down to here, it's going to snap in, and that keeper is going to keep it from moving, just like that. So next we're going to put on our upper swivel sling as well as our front band. So we're going to start off with this ring. So one of the cool things I discovered in my research on the 1903 is that one of the personnel who was in fact part of the developmental process of choosing the 1903 for the U.S. military was in fact President Teddy Roosevelt. He had a say on the type of sight as well as the magazine lock on the rifle, and he actually used a 1903 himself on a couple of his hunts. So we're going to get this tightened down over here. So once we've got that tightened down, we could go ahead and throw on our band. So it's going to run through here, and this will allow us, once you line up the holes, take this pin, run it through, try to get it lined up correctly. I have to give mine a little tap, get it through, there we go. Now it should be on the other side and allow me to tighten it up. So this front band up here is going to allow the attachment of a bayonet. The original 1903s, in fact, did not have this part right here. And what they had is they had a point bayonet that would slide out from underneath the rifle. That was one of those aspects that was not as favored by the U.S. military, and later on removed as they introduced the detachable bayonets. Next up, we're going to be installing our buttstock swivel right here. It's simple enough, just goes on right here. We're going to take these two screws, screw them on in there. Get it in nice and tight, and the other one now. we go. Finally, last but not least, we have our buttstock plate. So we're going to go ahead and get this installed. So our buttstock plate here is going to take one large screw in the lower side and a smaller screw, which is the same screws, by the way, as the buttstock swivel sling up top. So the 1903 actually has been used throughout World War I and World War II, as previously stated. And it was actually turned into a sniper rifle into more World War II and favored as a marksman by mainly the Marines. We're going to get this screwed down nice and tight here. Even on both sides. So the 1903 originally had a ladder sight, and in later years when it became the 1903A3 is when the aperture sights, that such as found on this example here, were installed, as well as some of them came with scopes. Alright, there we go. There's our butt plate installed. Finally, we are going to reinstall our front sight. Get that slid on there. And I will spare you guys this. It's going to take a little bit of hammer action. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to a close on our 1903 A3 unsporterization build. So I've got a military style sling here that I'm going to be throwing on here. If you've made it this far in the video, I do appreciate you sticking around. And for part 2, we're actually going to be taking it out and shooting it. So if you stuck around this long, just wait for part 2. We'll go ahead and go out and actually shoot it. Can't forget, throw the action back in there. And then we're going to go ahead, throw the follower for the magazine, as well as the trigger guard and base plate back in here. All right. Get this tightened down. We're just going to finish tightening this down. Throw this other screw in here. Perfect. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a Remington manufactured Springfield 1903 A3. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. As always, like, subscribe, and go ahead and check out the Instagram channel. Like I said, this is part 1. Part 2, we are going to be going out and actually firing this bad boy at the range. Thank you.